Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today we're going to be working once again from Vivian Howard's Deep Run Roots cookbook. And we're going to be making something that she calls a summer vegetable scallion pancakes, which really are kind of like a vegetable fritter. And basically all the vegetables in them are currently in season. It's got okra and corn and squash, summer squash in it, and of course scallions. And so this is sort of a late summer dish because that's when okra starts being ready, at least around here. So this is supposed to be a medium bowl, but this is what I have. So pretty large bowl. Everything else is like in use for many different things, including holding some cherry tomatoes that I picked today. So they're going crazy. And she does say she usually serves this on top of stewed tomatoes, which I don't have. So I will be serving them basically plain, or the adults might use some of the, we made some spicy mayo for dipping fried okra just the other day, and so we'll probably be dipping it in that. But we're going to go ahead and start this because the first part needs to sit for a little bit, and then after it's all together you're supposed to let it sit for a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I've already pre-prepped all of my ingredients, and let me go get a spatula. I have pre-chopped everything, and we're starting with okra. So this is minced up, and she actually says that, I chopped it just a few hours ago and put it back in the refrigerator. So everything's already pre-measured. So this okra, she says you actually want to use the mature pods, so the larger ones, because they'll have more kind of the sliminess, but that will help hold the pancakes together. So there's that. I have some fresh corn. I cut this off. This is about half an ear, a little bit more than half an ear of corn cut off the cob, fresh. I'm sure if you don't have fresh corn, it would be fine to use thawed, frozen, or whatever you have. We put up some more corn. We made some more of the hoarded corn just recently, so I'll link that up there, and I'm sure if you had some of that blanched corn that you cut off the cob, it would work fine here. Next, we have just a little bit. This was not even a whole small one. It was probably like less than half of a small one. I use zucchini, and it is grated on a box grater or in a food processor. I grated it on, a sort of a large grate on box grater or box grater type thing. You can also use yellow squash for this, any sort of summer squash that you have, but it's a very small amount. And now these are scallions, and they have been minced. So I sliced them up and then just sort of milled them with my knife. And there we go. And so we're going to put some of the salt on here, and we're going to let this sit we're going to start up and we're going to let it sit for 3 minutes, where she says the salt will pull the liquid out of the squash, because zucchini, summer squash, has a lot of water in it. And then that will activate the sliminess of the okra. And this is just sort of she says to cut off the tips and the tops and use just sort of the midsection, just FYI. And she says that will sort of activate the sliminess of the okra. So we're gonna let it sit for about 3 minutes. And while we're letting that sit, I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and we will make the other part of the pancakes. Okay, my timer has gone off and it's been 3 minutes. It's not super wet, but okay, whatever, it's fine. And I didn't go ahead and do the wet ingredient step because I only have one clean spoon of the size I need. So we're gonna do the dry stuff first. We're going to add some cornmeal, getting it all over the place. All right, we're gonna add some cornmeal to this. I've just got yellow cornmeal because that's what I generally have on hand. And we're going to add some plain all-purpose flour to this. So there's not a lot of flour or cornmeal in this, but just a little bit. I'm gonna put these away so you can see more. And we are going to mix this in to kind of coat the vegetables with the dry ingredients. And so it's sort of a dry, these are the dry ingredients, I guess. And now we're gonna put together the wet ingredients. So we've got egg here. All right. Try to get, there we go. We need some buttermilk. I've been using a lot of buttermilk lately, so I happen to have some on hand, thankfully. Okay, we've measured in our buttermilk, and now we need just a little bit of hot sauce. That's good. I'm using Frank's just because that's what I have on hand right now. And we are going to whisk this all together. Okay, I'm gonna put the salt away because the rest of the salt in the recipe is just gonna be on the finished product. So we don't need any more of this right now. And I'm not gonna measure that. So our what does she call it? She calls it a dry slimy mass. It's not super slimy, but it is dry. So now we're going to add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients and stir this up a few times. And then we need to let this sit for at least 3 minutes and up to an hour. So this doesn't make a whole lot of fritters, but it looks like it'll be perfect for a side dish for our dinner, which is what we are using this as. So when we are about ready to eat, which will be probably 30 minutes or so, I'm just gonna leave this out and we will come back and show you how we cook these. All right, so it's been probably about an hour, maybe even a little bit more. I'm heating up my oil here. I didn't measure it. I just kind of got a decent layer. She says you could use a 10-inch or 12-inch cast iron skillet. I've got my 10-inch. I'm going to be making relatively small ones, and I just didn't want to have to deal with too many at once, especially while filming. So, medium heat. I didn't start it heating up quite early enough because cast iron takes a while to heat. But so I turned it up a little bit above that. But now it's down to medium. And what I'm gonna do, I just did a little stir, and it's definitely more sort of slimy and battery than it was before. Now she says you can use 1 or 2 tablespoonfuls for a fritter. I'm gonna go with these smaller ones just because I think they'll be easier to handle as a side dish. And then you want to drop them in and then make them about, flatten them out to like pancake. shape size. So that is what I'm doing. And I think at medium heat, I will probably have time to fill this up before I do anything for sure. These small ones, looks like I'll be able to get at least 6 or so in the pan at once. Maybe could do more if I had planned a little better at the beginning, but so. I might make bigger ones next time. We'll see. But these fry just until you want some dark brown and some golden brown bits, and then you flip them over, same thing. I've got my oven preheated to like warm and hold, just to keep them warm. She says 200 degrees. So, you know, if you don't have a warm and hold, that's what I usually use, which is somewhere north of 180, maybe slightly below 200, but it's good for these kinds of things. So we're going to be frying these until we're all done. I'll show you what they look like when they get flipped over. All right, I'm going to flip the first one over. I don't know that it's done, but yeah. It's not brown yet. It does stay together, so that's good, but we're going to let these keep cooking before I flip the rest of them. I think this first one that cooked on the second side is getting a little bit closer, where you see some are really sort of dark chestnut and the rest is sort of golden brown. I think that's what we're going for. All right, so I'm going to take these and put the ones that I think are done, brown enough on both sides, on my paper towels, and then we're going to hit them with just a little bit more salt, just to make sure they're seasoned well. That's always a good idea for anything that you fry, to season it after it comes out of the pan. That's when it'll stick, because it'll stick to the oil. Put these in the oven just to keep warm and get some more going. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make summer vegetable scallion pancakes from Vivian Howard's Deep Run Roots cookbook. Now, I've made other sorts of vegetable pancakes, usually sort of potato pancakes before, and one of the problems that I almost always have is near the end it gets very liquidy. Like when you're frying them up, the end they get very liquidy. It doesn't hold together very well. Did not have that problem with these. So she says that the okra, sort of the sliminess, that mucusy texture that everybody hates, well, almost everybody hates when it's sort of boiled or just sort of by itself. Usually that's why you serve it with tomatoes that have a little bit of a vinegar to cut it. Not vinegar, but an acidity to cut it. So it's in gumbo where you have that, but by themselves, not a great texture. But it works really well here to keep those pancakes together and to keep them from getting super watery. So I really, really like this recipe. They were absolutely delicious. My kids said it needed more corn because they just love corn. But this is a great recipe if you have a little bit of, because I could use like maybe half a zucchini and like maybe 1 ear of corn and a small amount of okra. So if you have a little bit of stuff coming off your actual garden, or you have a little bit of stuff left over, you can make this very easily. I personally would love to have a double batch of these. I think we could have eaten a double batch, but we had no problem eating all of these. So, so we really liked them. She does say that she often serves them over stewed tomatoes, which we hadn't made when we did this, when we made this recipe, but we have made it now, and I might want to make them again and try that, because it really would be a good sort of sauce to have with these. I think my kids wanted ketchup, and which the stewed tomatoes are a little bit like ketchup. They've got some acidity and all of that in it, and the tomato, of course, very flavorful. So anyway, I will definitely be making these again, and I'm pretty sorry that I haven't made them before. I can't believe I hadn't made these before, because they were one of our favorites from this book. So if you enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else next week.